The studio was unusually quiet for a live broadcast night. Behind the glass panels of the Capital News Network's flagship set, hundreds of LED panels glowed with sharp white light. The floor manager held up 3 fingers. 3 seconds. In front of the massive desk sat Jasmine Crockett, her expression calm but unmistakably alert. To her right, in a deep black suit with no tie and a silver Neuralink pin on his lapel, Elon Musk sat with his hands folded, staring slightly downward. Not nervous, but calculating. The theme music ended. The red light above camera 1 lit up. "We are live." Anchor Vanessa Reed's voice echoed through the studio, her polished smile barely hiding the tension in her jaw. "Good evening, America. Tonight, a conversation that's been trending for days before it even began." The camera zoomed in. With us, tech titan and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, and U.S. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas, whose recent bill proposal could reshape the relationship between private technology and public oversight. Cut to split screen, Crockett on one side, Musk on the other. The visual contrast was stunning. The poised legal firebrand versus the visionary disruptor. Vanessa turned to Musk first. "Mr. Musk, you've called the Crockett Bill a legislative assault on innovation. Could you clarify what you mean?" Musk didn't flinch. His voice, calm but clipped, cut through the feed like a scalpel. The bill, as written, would allow congressional panels to demand access to source code, proprietary AI models, and, in some cases, terminate deployment without judicial process. That's not oversight. That's control. Crockett raised an eyebrow but waited. "And," Musk added, "it assumes bad intent from builders, from people like me." Now it was Jasmine's turn. She didn't hesitate. "What it assumes, Mr. Musk, is that unchecked technology in private hands is already harming real people. You may not like oversight, but you've proven time and again why it's necessary." Musk opened his mouth, but she leaned forward. "Do you really believe your vision justifies end-running democracy?" The studio shifted. The energy changed. The audience, physically present and watching live across the country, felt it. Vanessa cleared her throat, trying to redirect. "Let's focus on the core disagreement here." But Musk interrupted, calmly, firmly. "No, I want to answer that. I believe democracy needs to evolve, not be used as a weapon to stall progress. You don't regulate the printing press before the printing press exists." Jasmine didn't blink. "And we don't wait for a train to derail before we build brakes." A beat of silence. You could hear the hum of the studio lights. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was personal. The clock read 8:07 p.m., and the temperature had just started to rise. The producer in the control booth leaned forward. "Cut to wide angle. Now." The screen pulled back to show both figures fully. Jasmine Crockett, sitting upright, her hands lightly clasped, and Elon Musk leaning slightly forward, fingers steepled in front of him like he was calculating a rocket trajectory. But this wasn't a launch pad. It was war. "Mr. Musk," Crockett began again, "you've said government interference slows innovation, but what you call interference is what the rest of us call laws." She turned slightly toward the audience, not the camera, a calculated move, then back at Musk. "And let's talk facts. Under your watch, your companies have violated labor regulations, dodged safety protocols, and brushed off national security briefings. So forgive us if some of us think maybe it's not democracy that needs evolving. Maybe it's just accountability," the audience murmured. Not applause, not outrage, just a ripple of recognition, like something had landed. Musk's smile was subtle, almost amused. "You talk about accountability," he said, "but your committee couldn't even define what an algorithm was during last month's hearing. Yet now you want access to them?" He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You don't regulate fire by banning oxygen." Jasmine leaned forward. "No, but we do build fire departments, so entire cities don't burn because someone thought a flamethrower was visionary." There it was, the flamethrower line, a direct jab at Musk's own product from years ago. Some in the control room exhaled hard. Others just grinned. The split screen cut briefly to Vanessa Reed, who looked like she was silently praying for a commercial break. But Musk wasn't done. "You know what this really is?" he said, voice dropping into something almost whisper quiet. "This isn't about AI, or rockets, or laws." He turned directly to the camera for the first time. "This is about fear. Fear that the people building the future don't need permission anymore." Jasmine stood up, not in anger, in strategy. "And maybe you're right," she said, walking slowly around the debate table. "Maybe this is about fear, but not the kind you think. The fear isn't about tech outpacing us. It's about people like you, men with billions, egos the size of Mars, and no one brave enough to say, 'Enough.'" Musk didn't move. The studio lights buzzed. The feed delay narrowed to real time. This wasn't a debate. This was becoming a reckoning. By 8:19 p.m., the broadcast wasn't just a conversation. It was a cultural detonation. In Times Square, massive digital billboards that normally ran sneaker ads now displayed a live caption feed from CNN's Stream. The words, "I don't wait for trains to derail," scrolled in bold red across the skyline. In Silicon Valley, engineers paused their code reviews and watched from glass-walled offices. In Washington, D.C., aides whispered urgently behind closed doors. The White House Situation Room had one screen muted, but the captioning was on. And across social media, Twitter, Threads, even TikTok, the hashtag number Musk versus Crockett had already gone nuclear. Jasmine just roasted Musk live. "Elon, we don't ban oxygen. This guy's too calm, it's scary. This ain't a debate. This is a constitutional cage match." Inside the studio, the energy shifted again. Not louder, sharper, like electricity was crawling beneath the floor tiles. Vanessa Reed leaned forward, trying to inject order back into chaos. "Let's pivot to solutions. Congresswoman Crockett, if not complete federal oversight, what safeguards do you believe are realistic?" Jasmine didn't hesitate. "Independent audits, public review panels, open-source transparency on high-impact systems, not shutdowns, sunlight." Musk tilted his head slightly. "And who decides what's high impact? You? A rotating panel of bureaucrats?" She answered without blinking. "The public. The ones your models are trained on. Their faces, their voices, their lives." The moment she said it, you could feel something turn. Elon shifted slightly. A flicker of something unreadable passed through his eyes. Not fear, not anger, recognition. He leaned forward, more serious now. "If you're really worried about data, Congresswoman," he said, "you should know your own campaign used a predictive voter model trained on anonymized hospital data." Vanessa gasped slightly. Jasmine froze. "That program was built by a former OpenAI dev," Musk continued. "He used the same architecture as GPT-3. And you knew." The audience went silent. Jasmine didn't speak for 2 full seconds. Then, "Let's talk about the dev's new employer, Mr. Musk. Want to tell America who bought his silence after he blew the whistle?" You could have heard a pin drop. The show had stopped being a show. It had become evidence. "Let's be honest, Mr. Musk. You don't want regulation because you've never had to live under any rule but your own." Jasmine's voice didn't rise, but it tightened, like a blade being honed in real time. Elon smirked, not because he found it funny, but because he saw it coming. Still, his response was ice cold. "Congresswoman, I build rockets that land backward. I think I can handle bureaucratic turbulence." Vanessa Reed, caught between them like a referee at a heavyweight match, raised a hand. "Let's keep this civil." But Jasmine cut in. Civil left the building when this man called an entire legislative body useless meat obstacles on X. "That was a meme," Elon replied flatly. "You do know what memes are, right?" A laugh erupted in the control room. Not from humor, from tension release. But Jasmine didn't flinch. "What I know," she said, standing again, "is that behind every one of your memes is a message. And behind that message, a man who thinks he's above the systems that hold the rest of us accountable." "Above? Or ahead?" Elon countered. "Because I don't need a Senate committee to tell me fusion will replace oil. I see what's coming. And frankly, you're afraid of that." Jasmine took a step forward, across the studio floor. "I'm not afraid of the future, Elon. I'm afraid of the people who want to own it." "Correction," Elon said, standing to face her now. "I create it." The audience behind the glass, normally told to stay silent, couldn't help themselves. A gasp, followed by a smattering of stunned murmurs. Two icons, two opposing ideologies, and no one was backing down. "Then answer this," Jasmine said, steady, staring him down. "If your AI writes laws better than Congress, if your rockets are meant to make Earth obsolete, if your satellites map every move, then what exactly are we voting for anymore, huh?" "Survival," Musk said quietly. "That's what I'm building. You're busy debating how high the water's getting. I'm building the Ark." She blinked, just once, but it was enough. "No, Elon," she whispered, her voice suddenly cold. "You're not building an Ark. You're building an escape pod. For the few." Silence. Vanessa tried to speak, but failed. For a moment it felt like the lights might cut out, like something primal had shifted in the air. "Cut to commercial," a voice whispered in the booth. "No," the director answered. "Keep rolling." The studio lights burned hotter now. Even the cameras seemed tense, like they knew they were recording something people would replay for decades. Vanessa Reed had stopped trying to mediate. Her fingers hovered over her cue cards. Forgotten. This wasn't a panel anymore. It was a reckoning. "Let me ask you this, Elon," Jasmine Crockett said, her voice edged with steel. "You talk about the future like it's a destination you own. But what happens when your technology fails? Not in theory, but in blood? Who gets held accountable then?" Elon didn't blink. "I do, every single time." "Do you?" she snapped. "Tell that to the families of the neural beta testers, to the engineers fired after whistleblowing about AI ethics breaches in your subsidiaries." Elon stepped closer to the podium now. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "You're talking about innovation like it's a committee vote. It's not. It's risk. And yes, people get hurt sometimes. But stagnation kills more than progress ever will." Jasmine crossed her arms. "You say that like it's noble." "I say that because it's true," Musk replied. "You want a world where nothing ever breaks? Fine. But don't expect it to move forward." There was a pause. A long one. The kind of pause where even the control booth stopped breathing. Then Jasmine leaned in and dropped the line that made history. "You don't want progress, Elon. You want dominion." And just like that, the line was crossed. "That's a heavy word," he said quietly, "coming from someone whose campaign took crypto from 3 separate tech packs and never disclosed it." "That's a lie?" she said, her tone deadly flat. Check your FEC filings, he shot back. Or maybe check who filed them. A firm run by a guy who used to work for me. The room didn't erupt. It collapsed into stunned quiet. Even Vanessa's jaw tensed. This wasn't a debate. It was a war under lights. You think I'm scared of your data, your satellites, your bots? Jasmine said. No, Elon answered. I think you're scared because, deep down, you know they're smarter than you. The words hit like a gunshot. Cut, someone whispered in the dark. But no one moved. Red lights blinked silently above camera 3, a quiet panic signal. In the control room, producers huddled around monitors like soldiers in a bunker. One of them turned, headset half on, voice sharp. Do we pull the feed? The executive producer shook her head. Not unless they throw punches. Back on stage, Jasmine hadn't moved, but her jaw was set, her shoulders forward. Elon wasn't blinking anymore. His focus had narrowed, pupils dark, locked onto her. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't safe. You want transparency? Elon said, his voice low. Let's open the books. Let's stream your committee meetings live. Let's show voters how deals are made when the cameras are off. Jasmine countered, without missing a beat. Gladly. As long as we also stream your board meetings. I'm sure America would love to see how you decide which contracts get sold to which governments. The silence was nuclear. Vanessa finally leaned forward, trying to rescue the broadcast. This is clearly a passionate exchange, but let's shift gears slightly. Elon cut her off. No, let's not. Let's talk about the real lobby, the one no one's allowed to name, the one that whispers into both your ears and mine, the one that funds censorship, not with dollars, but with fear. Jasmine's eyes narrowed. You think you're exposing something? We all know about lobbying power, but unlike you, I don't tweet conspiracy and call it insight. A voice crackled in the control room. We've got a call from Washington. Line 2. Someone wants this shut down. Now. But the producer, hands clenched on the desk, stared at the screen. Elon was walking forward. He passed the podium. This isn't about parties or power anymore, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. This is about who controls the story. You want to call me reckless? Fine. But at least I'm not pretending. At least I'm not hiding behind a flag while building walls around the truth. Jasmine didn't flinch. Number. You're just building rockets to fly away from it. And with that, the broadcast signal stuttered. For one flicker of a second, the screen went black, and then came back. The audience watching at home didn't blink. They leaned closer, because now they knew this was real. The producer's voice cracked through the earpieces. Get Musk off the stage. Now! But it was too late. Elon had stepped past the red tape on the floor. The invisible line guests weren't supposed to cross. He now stood directly in front of the moderator's desk, his face inches from the main camera. You want me silent? He said, voice low but sharp as glass. Cut my mic. Let them see it happen. In the control room, fingers hovered over the mute button. We're live in 49 countries, someone whispered. Doesn't matter, replied a voice from behind. This isn't a debate. It's a detonation. Back on stage, Jasmine Crockett didn't retreat. She walked to the center, facing Elon head-on. 2 podiums now stood empty behind them, forgotten. I didn't come here to watch a billionaire throw tantrums on live TV, she said. I came here to stop one from pretending he's the only future this country has. You think I want to be the future? Elon shot back. I'd give this all up tomorrow if the people you work for weren't trying to rewrite the present. Vanessa stood frozen. The teleprompter was now just a blur of looping script, irrelevant. Then the screen on set flickered again. Suddenly, the official network logo vanished, replaced by a black box reading, "Signal unauthorized. Broadcast override in progress." The audience gasped. The network had lost control. Elon turned to the camera, unmoved. "They're trying to shut this down, not because we're wrong, but because we're right." Jasmine, without missing a beat, leaned in too. "Then let them try. The people watching already know what silence looks like, and they're not afraid of noise anymore." A security guard stepped forward. A producer's headset sparked with static. "Do we pull them off stage?" a voice crackled. "Try it," another answered. "And watch this turn into legend." The feed was still live. Two forces, one stage, neither blinking, and across millions of screens, people leaned forward, whispering the same thing. "Don't cut it now." The broadcast was never supposed to last this long. Producers had planned for 38 minutes. They were now on minute 92, and yet no one had left their screen. Across living rooms, airports, phones clutched in shaking hands, the faces of Elon Musk and Jasmine Crockett were frozen in frame. Two podiums. One war. "They think cutting the feed ends the truth," Elon said, his voice now calm. "It doesn't. Truth isn't a broadcast. It's a ripple." "No," Jasmine replied. "It's a mirror, and you're terrified of what people might see in it." That line hit harder than anything before. In the stifling silence that followed, even the backup crew stopped breathing. The moderator's script lay crumpled on the floor. Security guards now stood motionless, waiting for a command that never came. And then it happened. The live stream link was clipped and reposted on social media in real time. TikTok, YouTube, X, even encrypted feeds in regions where the broadcast had been blacked out. A TikTok user posted, "Musk versus Crockett is no longer politics. This is a revolution disguised as TV." The clip had 4 million views in 11 minutes. Our Elon uncensored and Jasmine Crockett claps. Back trended side by side. People weren't choosing sides. They were choosing to watch. Because this wasn't just a debate. It was a signal breaking through noise. "Tell them the truth," Jasmine said now, facing Elon directly. "Tell them what kind of world you actually want." Elon didn't smile. "A world that doesn't need politicians to function." That one broke the air in two. Even the studio lights flickered. A strange metaphor no one missed. Jasmine's reply was soft, but ice-cold. "Then build your Mars colony and go. We'll stay and fix Earth." That was the moment. That line would be quoted on banners, painted on city walls, sampled into songs, and just like that, the internet exploded. Not in rage, in recognition. The lights didn't flicker this time. They blazed, as if the studio itself was holding its breath. Elon Musk stood still, his gaze locked with Jasmine Crockett's. For a moment, neither moved. The audience could feel the static, like thunder on the edge of a dry sky. Then Elon looked down. Not in defeat, in calculation. He reached for the microphone pinned to his lapel. Click. "You've made this into a courtroom," he said, voice low but steady. "But I didn't agree to stand trial in a place where truth is prescripted." Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "No one scripted this, Elon. You just didn't expect pushback." He nodded slowly, then took one step back. The control room snapped into chaos. "Is he leaving?" "Stay with him. Camera 2, follow." "Wait, he's actually walking off?" But he was already turning. No fanfare, no flourish, just one hand in his pocket and a storm behind his eyes. As Elon walked past the cameras, past the stage hands, past the blinking red lights and half-eaten sandwiches on the production table. He paused only once. He looked straight into the side feed monitor. They'll say I walked away, but history will say I wasn't allowed to finish. Then he was gone. The doors hissed shut behind him. Silence. For half a second. Then Jasmine stepped forward. She didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She simply took Elon's empty spot at center stage and turned to face the camera. He didn't walk out because he lost, she said, voice sharp but calm. He walked out because he finally met someone who wouldn't blink. And that was the clip that broke the top of every major feed. Elon's exit, Jasmine's stand, the line that changed everything. On TikTok, she took his stage and made it hers. 7.2 million likes. On YouTube, Musk walks off, but the world leans in. 1.3 million shares. In the control room, the executive producer whispered, "We didn't just make TV, we made history." By the time Elon Musk's car pulled away from the studio gates, the hashtags had mutated into movements. Walk out or stand? Elon vs. Jasmine. The broadcast break. Outside the studio, a crowd had already gathered, not angry, not cheering, but waiting. For what? Even they didn't know. Only that something had just cracked open. Inside, Jasmine Crockett remained alone on stage. The crew hadn't cut the feed. The audience hadn't tuned out. In fact, more people were now watching than at any point in the night. She sat on the edge of the stage, removed her mic, and spoke directly into the room. "I didn't come here to win. I came here so no one could say they didn't hear it." Her voice echoed. "He's not wrong to challenge power, but neither am I." Outside, someone set up a projector on a nearby building and began replaying the entire debate, start to finish, for the growing crowd. Elon, meanwhile, wasn't silent. His team live posted a photo of him standing in the rain outside Tesla HQ, phone in one hand, captioned simply, "The future isn't built in studios." The internet split, not in chaos, in clarity. People weren't debating who was smarter. They were debating who was braver. TV panels scrambled to analyze every word. A major outlet titled its morning recap. When two futures collided on camera. Inside the studio, Jasmine was being ushered toward the green room, but she stopped by the camera operator. "Leave the lights on," she said. "Someone might still need them." And just like that, the stage lights didn't fade. They stayed on. Bright. Empty. Waiting. Because for the first time in a long time, people didn't want a winner. They wanted witnesses. And that was the real story. As the stage lights stayed on and the cameras kept rolling, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just a debate. It was a turning point. Elon Musk walked out. Jasmine Crockett stood her ground. But it wasn't about who won. It was about who listened, who challenged, and who dared to speak when silence would have been easier. In a world flooded with noise, sometimes all it takes is one room and two voices to make everything echo. So, what side of history will you stand on? Let us know in the comments. And if this made you feel something, share it. The conversation isn't over. It's just beginning.